Welcome to the Game Rage Music Show.
Yep. We're back again. This is All Gas, No Trash. Episode 26.
26.
Hot diggity damn. 26 episodes later. Here we are. Once again. As always, my name's Josh. I'm here today with good buddy co-host Adam.
Howdy.
Well, really, I'm actually good buddy co-host. You're probably you're
I'm
the
not
main,
really the hype man. I'm more the
you're the content. You're the beef. All right. I'm just the hype guy.
I'm just the Jim Ross.
I'm the bombastic character that doesn't really know much about it, but technically does because I'm an artist. So I'm like Jerry the King Lawler. So technically I'm that's who I am. Anyways, got some interesting things to talk about today. That's for sure.
We sure do.
So, as always, though, if you want to, check out our website, GameRageMagazine.com. I feel like it's important to fucking just plug that at the beginning. And at Game Rage Magazine on all the social medias. Thank you. All right. Anyways, what do you got today, Adam?
All right. Do you want to do yours first, and then we can just
Oh,
do
yeah.
everything?
That's a good idea. Since, while I was talking about being an artist, all right, with good old Millennial Frog,
Yeah.
I will say it has been mind-boggling to see how this shit works. And I'm just one dude, right? I could totally understand how people would just fucking quit. If you're a band or whatever, and there's 4 of you or 5 of you, and you're trying to get shit going, and it's just so much fucking work when you're by yourself. When there's no one to do all of this dirty work for you, which essentially is what I basically see as the label or the management. This is like, I'm doing everything, right? And as an quote unquote independent artist or whatever you want to call it, it is up to me to make sure that everything happens. There's nobody behind it. And with that also being said, though, I do think that, like for me with Millennial Frog, now me talking as Josh, not as Millennial Frog, all right, because I'm just being Josh right now. I do seriously believe that this is what separates those who make it from those who don't. And it really has nothing to do with talent. Because honestly, at this point, I don't really have any talent at all. I'm just making shit up as I go along. And I'm doing it because it's funny, and I think the stuff I make is entertaining for me.
It's a case study in how to be an artist.
Basically, yeah. And I think it's funny, and it's like the Rick Rubin thing. I'm doing this. This is my art. This is me doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for anyone else but me. Mm-hmm. And so I literally give no fucks if anything happens. This is honestly just another character that I have created that I can use in any of our things that we do in the future on top of it. So, but if you actually have talent, you shouldn't give up. You shouldn't quit. Because, listen, it's hard. iTunes and Spotify. Fucking A. I've been trying since, when did I launch the first album? In like November?
I don't know.
I've been trying since November of last year to get the artist page for Millennial Frog on Spotify and iTunes, because now this is honest review, honest opinions. Okay. no one's sponsoring us. I just want to make that clear, but it's no secret that I use CD Baby as my like distribution source. Right. And I pay my $9.99 and my album goes out on literally everything. So the problem, though, with that is the one thing where CD Baby, where I like a lot of things they do, one of the things that they lack is they lack in assisting you with getting this fucking handled. And they also lack any sort of recourse when it comes to you getting copyright stricken. So I've been Game Rage Magazine LLC owns everything that Millennial Frog has made, right? They technically own the concept of the artist himself. They own everything, right? It's a character. They own it. Well, we own it. So how come when I'm on TikTok or Instagram and I post songs from Millennial Frog, I get a DM from Instagram or TikTok saying, hey, you're posting copyrighted work. You can't do this.
You piece of shit.
And basically says, I've been given. So I send them a thing back and I say, hey, just FYI, I own this material. If you would bother to actually look it up, Millennial Frog is owned by Game Rage Magazine LLC. This is the Game Rage Magazine Twitter and or Instagram, whatever account. How is it that you're saying that I am committing copyright fraud? So, and then they tell you, if you keep doing this, we're going to sue you, or you're going to be sued, is what they keep saying. So I'm like, by who? I own it. Who's going to sue me? Am I going to sue myself? I'm waiting for the day that I get served with a subpoena from like maybe CD Baby or somebody saying, hey, you've been using this artist's. Because I've also told CD Baby, because they're the ones that are supposed to be, they insert it into the algorithm or whatever of whatever the thing is for the musical rights stuff. They're the ones who put it in there. So that's how this shit even comes out as copyrighted, is because any song that I do through them, they upload into a database that I guess YouTube uses. But what's funny is YouTube, all those songs and shit are on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube, and YouTube hasn't said shit to me, which they are the one that is, from what I've seen, the most restrictive when it comes to content and using copyrighted stuff. So YouTube has said nothing to me. I've received nothing. All the shit's on YouTube. You could easily see it, play it, whatever. YouTube apparently doesn't give a shit. But for some reason, every social media, including X, fucking takes my shit down as a copyright strike. I message them. I get nothing in return, no response. So then I hit up CD Baby about, hey, what is it that we can do about this where can I get my own accounts greenlit to be essentially not hit up on the copyright thing? And I get no fucking response. So I understand how difficult it could be, because as I'm trying to promote this, because like I said, I'm doing this is a case study on how to be an artist. So it's really hard to promote your own music if you can't actually put it on the things for free for people to hear. If I can't put it on Instagram or TikTok in a 30-second reel for somebody to hear a preview of, what's the point? I can't advertise myself. And it's, again, we own it. So what the fuck do you mean? It's ridiculous. And so, but one of the things is I finally got into the artist page. They finally approved it. It only took, 4 fucking months or whatever. But I finally got approved by iTunes and Spotify to be in charge of the Millennial Frog artist page. So now I'm hoping maybe I can send like a screenshot of that to TikTok or Instagram and be like, look, I'm the artist. I stop copyright striking my shit. Yeah, honestly, I don't even care if anybody else uses it, because fuck, it's just free advertising, I guess. But I don't necessarily need royalties from it. I just want to be able to use it myself. That's all I care about. And it's funny because if I wouldn't have uploaded this shit to iTunes or any of this other shit, if I wouldn't have used a distributor, well, you have to use a distributor, but if I was allowed to do this myself, I probably wouldn't be in this situation right now, because my shit wouldn't be getting searched for in copyright violations, essentially, because I'd be the only one putting it up. So no one would be doing it upon my behalf, because that is, I guess, something that's included in the $10 that you pay to have your shit released through CD Baby. Is they make sure that no one's ripping your shit off or whatever, that they're just using it without any, with just, it's not free use, I guess. Even though, I mean, CD Baby's aware of this. All my shit is free. None of it. I charge for none of it. It's all free. The only way that we make money on it is through streams on Spotify or Apple Music. And again, I don't know what the number is for Spotify, but for fucking iTunes, it's 0.007 something cents per stream, yeah, basically. So it's very frustrating. It's very aggravating not being able to get access essentially to your own shit or use your own shit.
Yeah.
Because I made these because I was also thinking about making songs and stuff to use, like maybe new intros and stuff for these things. And I was going to say, done by Millennial Frog. And then I was going to cheat and use one of the albums this year as just all of our theme songs. But then I'm like, I can't do that, because then all the podcasts are going to get taken down because they're going to say it's copyrighted music. So I was like, well, I'm not willing to risk that fucking happening. So that's out. But I don't know. It's fucking ridiculous. So yeah. So my message to everyone that's out there that's listening, just don't give up. It's frustrating and it's hard, and this is the type of shit that someone who is maybe more focused on creating the art than it is running the business side of it, that's something that's going to be a barrier to entry for most of those people. But just don't give up. Keep pushing. Eventually, and maybe just don't release your shit on iTunes or whatever, or through a distributor, because then you're gonna have this problem that I have. Maybe it's easier if you just put it out yourself and don't do it. Or like, because I see it all the time on Instagram with these fucking bands, you know, they make those videos that say, oh, day 300 of posting until someone who likes Korn, Disturbed, and whoever sees my song or whatever, and then they have the song playing, right? They're attached to a label. They're not independent. So the label's handling all that bullshit and has the connections with the music rights organizations that fucking handle this copyright shit to make sure that their accounts are greenlit, and that's it. So we don't have that option right now. So maybe never will. But at this point, it doesn't really matter because, you know, I'm still going to keep putting them out. And I guess the shit that I make is just going to only be. But what's also funny, none of the podcasts have been fucked up because all the albums are out as podcasts. They're all out as a podcast, and each song is its own episode. And I've heard nothing about that. So I don't know. That's weird. So it's like a pick and a choose type thing. And that also makes me wonder about the state of the whole copyright algorithm in general. Because, again, I mean, Frank is probably a super expert on this shit because he fucking knows all the shit about YouTube. But YouTube, from my understanding, is like the most restrictive, essentially. And they have said nothing to me. So again, is it picking and choosing who it fucks with? Is it deciding based on listeners, video, whatever, before they do anything like that? Whereas Instagram, the one that Instagram and TikTok uses, says, oh no, the second you post something up and it recognizes it, no dice. Your ass is out of your ass is grass. You're out of here. So I don't know. It's interesting though. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah.
I hope artists don't feel discouraged that they're making 7 cents on their music for every stream that they get.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to segue this into possibly the next segment, which is Universal Music Group has decided to pull their artists from TikTok and wrote an open letter about why it's problematic to them and in general to the music industry.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking, you know, these guys make a pretty good point, but I see these guys fighting for every fucking cent. When artists think, well, shit, I'm only making 0.00 cents or 0.007 cents. What's the big deal?
Right.
These guys are fucking, I want every fucking dime I can get. I think Universal's like saying they want, I don't know what the rate is on TikTok, but compared to Instagram and maybe even Twitter or whatever other social media platforms are getting less than that. So that to me just says even record labels are fighting for every fucking dime of every stream of everything, because as much as people don't think those pennies of pennies don't add up, they do.
Shit, man. 0.007 is like, what is that? 7/100ths of a cent?
Wait,
per stream? 0.007, yeah.
Thousandths, I think is a thousand.
Oh.
Tens, 100,000.
So it's 7,000th of, I can't even say it. 7,000ths of a cent.
Yeah.
And that is literally the definition of nickel and diming to the fucking maximum degree.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's not a lot. And I'll say this, we've had pretty good success on iTunes with a bunch of streams. Yeah. You need 7,000 downloads to make $1, right? Basically.
Man.
So we've had, I don't know, several hundred, and we've made, I think we're up to like 28 cents or 30 cents now that we've made. So, I mean, you could do the math. I mean, yeah, we've had several hundred downloads, but yeah, nowhere near 7,000 or whatever it is. Like, Jesus. Or maybe it's 0.07 cents. Maybe it's 7/100ths of a cent. Because that would probably make more sense as to why it's 21 cents. Because we've had several hundred, because we'd have to have probably several thousand in order to get to that 20, 30 cents or whatever. It's almost half. But yeah, so maybe it's 7/100ths of a cent actually is probably what it is. But yeah, it tells you the rate on there of like how much it is and shit. And it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And goddamn. But yeah. Well, so what's up with the Universal thing?
Right, I'm just going to read this thing.
All right.
The entire,
just read it. Okay, yeah. I won't interrupt. We'll hold my statements till the end.
All right. This is Universal Music Group.
Mm-hmm.
The open letter is titled "An Open Letter to the Artist and Songwriter Community." Why we must call on TikTok, or why Why we must call timeout on TikTok. That is the title.
Okay.
Our core mission is simple: to help our artists and songwriters attain their greatest creative and commercial potential. To achieve these goals, our teams employ their expertise and passion to strike deals with partners all around the world, partners who take seriously their responsibilities to fairly compensate our artists and songwriters and treat the user experience with respect. One of those partners is TikTok, an increasingly influential platform with powerful technology and a massive worldwide user base. As with many other platforms with whom we partner, TikTok's success as one of the world's largest social platforms has been built in large part on the music created by our artists and songwriters, referring to Universal Music artists, and songwriters. Its senior executives proudly state publicly that music is at the heart of the TikTok experience. And our analysis confirms that the majority of content on TikTok contains music, more than any other major social media platform. The terms of our relationship with TikTok are set by contract, which expires on January 31st, 2024. In our contract renewal discussions, we have been pressing them on 3 critical issues: appropriate compensation for our artists and songwriters, protecting human artists from the harmful effects of AI, and online safety for TikTok's users. We have been working to address these and related issues with our other platform partners. For example, our artist-centric initiative is designed to update streaming remuneration. Is that a typo?
Remuneration?
Looks like a typo.
Huh.
Is that right?
Well, remuneration is a word.
Remuneration is a word, but remuneration?
Maybe they typoed it. Wait, remuneration? Oh, that's...
M-U-N?
Yeah, that's a word. It means money paid for work or service. Remuneration. All right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, neither did I. Word of the day.
Let's see where I left off. Shit, I lost my place. Let's see.
Remuneration
Model and better reward artists for the value they deliver to platforms. In the months since its inception, we're proud that this initiative has been received so positively and taken up by a range of partners, including the largest music platform in the world. We've also moved aggressively to embrace the promise of AI while fighting to ensure artists' rights and interests are protected now and far into the future. In addition, we've engaged in a number of our platform partners to try to drive positive change for their users, by extension our artists, by addressing online safety issues, and we are recognized as the industry leader in focusing on music's broader impact on health and wellness. With respect to the issue of artist and songwriter compensation, TikTok proposed paying our artists and songwriters at a rate that is a fraction of the rate that similarly situated major social platforms pay. Today, as an indication of how little TikTok compensates artists and songwriters, despite its massive and growing user base, rapidly rising advertising revenue, and increasing reliance on music-based content, TikTok accounts for only about 1% of our total revenue. Ultimately, TikTok is trying to build a music-based business without paying fair value for the music. On AI, TikTok is allowing the platform to be flooded with AI-generated recordings, as well as developing tools to enable, promote, and encourage AI music creation on the platform itself, and then demanding a contractual right which will allow this content to massively dilute the royalty pool for human artists, in a movement that is nothing short of sponsoring artists' replacement by AI. Further, TikTok makes little effort to deal with the vast amounts of content on its platform that infringe our artists' music, and it has offered no meaningful solutions to the rising tide of content adjacency issues, let alone the tidal wave of hate speech, bigotry, bullying, and harassment on the platform. I don't know why they felt like they just had to throw that in there.
You want to know why? We'll go get to it in a second, but go ahead.
That's just shit fleeing for.
Yeah, it is for no reason.
That wasn't. Yeah. The only means available to seek the removal of infringing or problematic content, such as pornographic deepfakes of art. Whoa! So somehow I didn't
read that the first time?
Yeah, I must have just glanced.
Skipped over it, yeah.
Wow. Holy shit. That is amazing. Wow. Let me read that over again. The only means available to seek the removal of infringing or problematic content such as pornographic deep fakes of artists is through the monumentally cumbersome and inefficient process which equates to the digital equivalent of whack-a-mole. But when we proposed that TikTok takes similar steps as our other platform partners to try to address these issues, it responded first with indifference and then with intimidation. As our negotiations continued, TikTok attempted to bully us into accepting a deal worth less than the previous deal, far less than fair market value, and not reflective of their exponential growth. How did it try to intimidate us? By selectively removing the music of certain of our developing, that seems like a typo. By selectively removing the music of certain of our developing artists, yeah, somebody fucked up there, while keeping on the platform our audience-driving global stars. TikTok's tactics are obvious. Use its platform to hurt vulnerable artists and try to intimidate us into conceding to a bad deal that undervalues music and shortchanges artists and songwriters as well as their fans. We will never do that. We will always fight for our artists and songwriters and stand up for the creative and commercial value of music. We recognize the challenges that TikTok's actions will cause and do not underestimate what this will mean to our artists and their fans who, unfortunately, will be among those subjected to the near-term consequences of TikTok's unwillingness to strike anything close to a market rate deal and meaningfully address its obligations as a social platform. But we have an overriding responsibility to our artists to fight for a new agreement under which they are appropriately compensated for their work on a platform that respects human creativity in an environment that is safe for all and effectively moderated. We honor our responsibilities with the utmost seriousness. Intimidation and threats will never cause us to shirk those responsibilities. The end.
Well, that's a very interesting fucking letter. There's a bit of political maneuvering in there. There's a bit of smoke screening to essentially be playing the victim because, let's be honest, Universal Music Group doesn't give a fuck about what their artists get paid. They give a fuck about what they get paid, right? That's what this whole thing is about. Because under no circumstance do they directly pay all those royalties to the artist. They take a cut, 100%. And if you're also, managed by Universal Music Group and they're your label, right? And then also they're maybe everything else that you might have, then, well, they're taking even more cuts out of everything. It's kind of like the Live Nation deal where they're just taking cuts out of all the shit and you get left with a pittance. And sure, maybe that's why the artists are getting pissy because, yeah, they're left with essentially a pittance after everything gets taken out by their label. So that's why Universal Music Group is like saying, hey, our artists are getting pissy, essentially. We want them to be paid fairly compensated, but we're not going to do it. You're going to be the one that needs to do it. So you're going to have to pay the difference. We still need to make our whatever. I mean, this fucking thing that I just looked up says TikTok pays 3 cents for each new video in which your song is played. So every song that gets played they get 3 cents. Every time your song gets used in a video that's posted, 3 cents. So, and it doesn't say, I mean, and listen, that's kind of fair because most of them are like 10 seconds, 10 to 30 seconds, right? So they're not using a whole shit ton of the song. Hell, that's more than what iTunes pays for an entire fucking play of your song. Now, granted, it's not getting all these views, but like still, the principle of the matter is, yeah, it's 3 cents. So you're getting 3 cents per deal. They're probably giving the artist 0.07 cents for every one of those uses or whatever, and keeping the other 2.3 cents for themselves. I would imagine it's probably how the deals works, or something similar to that, where they're getting maybe a third, and then the label or the rights holder, which is the label, basically keeps the majority. So also the thing about the deep fakes, that was very interesting as well, because then you're really just playing the victim now, and you're really playing up to the audience or the fan base that, we're just looking out for our artists. We just want them to not have deep fake porn. And here, I don't know where you stand on the whole deep fake porn thing, but it's fucking, that is a crazy fucking thing. Those not even just porn, but just deep fakes in general.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those real fucking gray areas for me. I'm not sure in terms of pornography. Yeah, I think it's probably a little, that's where it gets real fucking weird. I'm as you well know, and it's well documented, I'm in favor of more freedoms than less freedoms, but that's kind of where the line starts to maybe get drawn, is like, you probably shouldn't be able to post videos of people doing porn stuff.
Oh man,
if they're doing like the ones of Biden or Trump, and they're doing the AI voice and the AI deepfake thing, right? And they're just talking shit. That's hilarious. That should be allowed. I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, maybe as we go into like the deepfake song version of the Evanescence song "Bring Me to Life," and Cartman is the voice. I mean, Jesus Christ, they're pissing off. I mean, by doing that, you're basically stealing Cartman's voice. You're stealing the lyrics to the song,
the composition of the
song. So that's also a little bit, I don't think maybe you should be able to make money on that, but I also don't think that you should be disallowed from creating that. Sure, I can agree with you not being able to monetize it. That's one thing. But saying that, hey, you can't even create this at all, I don't know. It's a little fishy. But anyways, them talking all this shit to me is just them trying to play the victim. They're just throwing on.
Best, dude. It is the best because it's like the equivalent of a mobster that runs a town, right?
Yeah.
Everybody that's in the town is an artist or a citizen or a resident of.
Yeah.
So they're essentially the bully, but they're trying to bully the other
bully.
Yeah. Because it's like I guess with the Vietnamese here in Orange County is that they come here and the Vietnamese mob expects some kind of payment,
protection money
for protection.
Yeah.
So that's what a record label is. They're
protection,
to make sure that nothing happens to you, but they can make things happen to you.
Yeah. You're basically, the protection money is you're paying to protect yourself from them. Yeah. That's what you're paying.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, essentially. And one of the also interesting things, if you look at this from a business perspective, it's interesting to note, okay, China or TikTok, obviously it's very well documented, is owned by ByteDance, ByteDance is technically the parent company of TikTok.
ByteDance,
but they're owned by
Tencent.
Yeah, it's like a parent company. It's that whole China thing where it's a parent company of a parent company of a parent company that owns whatever. But at the end of the day, TikTok is essentially owned by the Chinese government, right? That's essentially what it basically comes down to. And so it's funny because Universal also has their own division that's just in China, Universal Music Group China. And when you do look at the numbers that at least are published that I was able to find while you were kind of reading that, in terms of numbers for TikTok, TikTok has about 1 billion users or whatever, 1 billion unique users, but they're not like the biggest. Instagram has more, they have 1.4 billion users. YouTube's got 2.2. Facebook's got 2.9 billion. So I'm not sure what the numbers are because I can't find anything on what their deal is. Because I've been able to find the public thing of it's 3 cents, but I don't think that's for everyone else that's not in a deal, I think. So I'm sure their deal is different. It's probably not a base. That's like the base rate across the board for people who aren't represented, I feel like. Or if you put out a song and it gets used, like if Millennial Frog put out a song, we'd get 3 cents if it was used in a video. So shit, maybe that's why they keep copyright striking it, because they don't want to pay us 3 cents a fucking video. But them doing this and then saying, hey, we want more money, I think there's something to do with China here, because again, it's very weird because now Universal Music Group is essentially putting its business interests in China at risk by telling TikTok to go fuck themselves and making them look bad. Well, that's going to could potentially, I wouldn't say obviously, but it could potentially hurt the revenue that TikTok brings in, right? Because if the majority of all the articles I've been reading, TikTok goes silent, this and this, Universal pulls its artists from TikTok. And so now you can't use any songs basically because pretty much all the artists on there were Universal artists. That supposedly is what some things are saying. I don't know how accurate that is, but let's say that was all they were using was just Universal Music Group artists. And now you can't use music at all on TikTok. Is that going to hurt TikTok? I mean, the main purpose of TikTok in its infancy, that's why it's called TikTok, or not why it's called TikTok, but it has the music note as the symbol, right? And the original intent of TikTok was to be a karaoke app where you could karaoke and like sing along with the songs. That's like what the original purpose of TikTok was. And then it turned essentially into a social media app where you can just take those same songs you were karaokeing and just add them to shit. And it was very easy and accessible. So now where TikTok has become essentially a social media juggernaut, is it going to hurt them? I think they think it's not going to hurt them. Otherwise, they're like, fuck, whatever. We don't care. Write your stupid little letter. We don't give a fuck. And then what's going to happen even further, I think, is with this whole thing with China. Now that China's going to say, let's see what Universal has going on here in China. Oh shit, they got a whole industry here in China. Man, let's start fucking their shit up there. Let's start regulating the shit out of them even more than we already probably do. Or since maybe they pay us protection money, because that's kind of how it works in China with the companies, they pay the protection money to the government, and then you don't get fucked with. Whereas, now it doesn't matter what they're paying us. We're going to fuck with you anyways because we can. So I don't know, maybe Universal might be, and I'm not saying it's right for them to not do this, but because I do think that at the face value level of this whole thing, it appears that obviously Universal Music Group wants their artists to be fairly compensated, right? That's what the whole gist of this letter was. We kind of realize, and you can see through the lines, they want to be fairly compensated. But at the base value of that, they want their artists to be fairly compensated. So they at least feel like they're fighting for the right reason. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be fighting for that because that's a noble cause at face value, right? Notwithstanding what they're really after. But that's a noble cause to want your artists to be fairly compensated. So are they willing at the end of the day to potentially blow up some of their businesses in China? Or have them be hurt? Because now, whatever you were getting before, I'm sure it was pennies, but now you're not going to get that at all from TikTok. You're getting zero from TikTok now. So you just kind of undercut some money. And if TikTok doesn't come around to saying, okay, let's make a deal, because if this isn't going to hurt TikTok in any meaningful way, then they're not going to come around and negotiate. And then what's going to happen? Universal's going to have to come back with its tail between its leg. Hey, yeah, we know you were paying us like, several, it was pennies on what we should have been getting, but it was several $1 million in revenue that we were getting every year. So man, maybe we should let's just go back to the old deal, guys. Come on. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen with that, but it's interesting to just note how these things happen. And it's kind of like a union, I guess, right? The Universal Music Group is taking the stance of they're the artist union, right? That's basically kind of, which is totally a farce. That is the biggest pile of horseshit I think I've ever seen, because they're not a union, because they don't have the artist's interests at heart at all. There is, in my opinion, the only interest they have in the artist, and again, I'm saying this in my opinion, is their artist to be successful because that makes them money. Once you're no longer viable for them, they're not going to dump it. They're not going to fuck with you. They're just going to be like, oh, sorry. So they're not going to be looking out for your best interest at all times. They're still at every point looking out for their best interest. It just so happens that you doing well is also in their best interest. So you're getting hooked up until then. But like I said, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But hey, what are your thoughts? I've been talking for a minute here. Sorry.
I don't know. They took a lot of digs. The whole... I must have glanced over that deep fake pornography stuff, because
that's a big one.
That did not, my first reading of that did not click, but it is funny to read that because, I guess it's not so funny in the comedic sense. It's more in the, haha, that's disturbing.
Yeah.
Because that should be a genuine concern that, say there's a 17-year-old artist like a Jockatine, that there's
deep fakes.
There's deep fake pornography of a 17-year-old girl and it's being distributed. That would be concerning.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, that's also something that's kind of a concern now, just in general with this. I mean, I don't know about if it's like animated or hentai porn or whatever. That's like been a thing where they're trying to say, well, okay, you're going to have these drawn images depicting children doing things. Yeah, I mean, it's not real children, right? So there's that aspect of it. But also, you shouldn't be fucking doing that. That should not be allowed. Even though it's not real children, still shouldn't be allowed. And that's the same thing with, some artist who's maybe underage. And even an adult artist, if they're famous, and I don't want to say this for a fact, but I have to believe that the Taylor Swift thing is a big fucking motivator. That's the whole reason they put that deep fake thing in there, because there were deep fakes of her online, and they were strolling around on TikTok. They were going around on everything. There were like deep fake porn videos of her.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how TikTok, because I felt that TikTok already wasn't allowing straight porn on the thing. Like, you couldn't show straight nudity. I feel like that's a violation of their terms. So it's almost as if, I'm sure those things would have gotten taken down already, just because of the algorithm would have caught it saying, hey, this is not allowed. Nudity or porn or whatever is not allowed. So you can't have this. So I don't know how true that is. Because I mean, I've seen it on there, but I haven't seen it lately. So I imagine that it mostly gets scrubbed. Maybe it takes a minute, but that's kind of hard to make sure it gets, because once something's on the internet, as we know, it's out there. It's on the internet forever. You're never going to truly erase it. You can do your best, but you're never going to get rid of it. So I just can't believe that they would throw that fucking shit in there. And I do think it just makes them play the victim even more, saying basically, because let's be real, the process, because the process they're talking about with getting things removed, that honestly really has nothing to do with their monetary compensation. That's a totally separate issue. So they're just trying to pile on as many things as they can to make TikTok look bad.
Yeah, it's a character assassination for a large company. Large corporation, essentially. And again, I do feel that this whole Taylor Swift thing is highly motivated by it, because she is one of their artists. And, if that's something that she's being pushed even further into the stratosphere of fame, even harder, especially now with this whole NFL fucking nonsense that's been going on with her and Travis Kelce or whatever. It's just becoming bigger than it ever could have possibly been. And so if they're going to try to protect that and capitalize on it, now's the time. That's probably why this whole thing is happening now. It's weird how it's very convenient how the timing of this happened with, this whole, Taylor Swift is going to be on every fucking channel. Well, not every channel, but whatever. What's Super Bowl on this year? Channel 2, whatever channel it's on this year. You know that she's going to be featured a lot on that show. Every time they're not actually playing football, I'm sure they're going to be showing what Taylor Swift is doing in the audience or in the box or wherever she's at. So thus just bringing even more attention to Taylor Swift, thus benefiting Universal Music Group, basically. So it's very interesting to see that this, the deal did end January 31st. That's not suspicious, but it's convenient that they're choosing right now to really step down on the neck, because they're going to say, look at all these views that Taylor Swift is getting, and you can't use her music. Because that TikTok would be getting a shit ton of activity for the Super Bowl and posting Taylor Swift songs. Because again, this is maybe off topic, but if you want it, but relevant, but if you want to talk about the NFL being rigged, right? You got Travis Kelce. If he wins the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift is there, she's going to come down to the field. They're going to have their fucking little moment. They're going to kiss and they're going to do all that stupid shit, right? There's going to be a billion TikToks with that fucking Taylor Swift song. It's a love story. That one? Like, it's going to be that. That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, that would have been the thing that would have driven them with user interactivity or whatever. Oh man, TikTok would have made a shit ton of money being able to sell their advertisers. Look at all these user whatever TikToks that are being made about we're awesome. I think she won album of the year tonight as well on the Grammys.
Also convenient.
Yeah, so
who is she going up with? Well, I mean, I guess we could talk about that when we get to the Grammys,
we could look that up later.
Yeah, but back to this thing.
Yeah.
What do you think the solution is going to be like? What do you think the outcome to this?
I didn't even get to finish.
Shit. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Continue on. My bad.
Yeah. So the deep fake porn stuff, interesting, because I feel like that is probably a problem that needs to be remedied at some point. I don't know how that that's going to work. And then there's the part about songs being morphed and changed with
Like remixed or whatever.
just changed completely with some of the stuff you were talking about, Cartman doing an Evanescence song, because it's so it is relevant in that it's an old song, right?
Yeah.
So now they're saying, okay, people are making these morphed versions of songs with AI voices and stuff, and then they're putting it on the platform, then collecting the
money or whatever.
the money off of it. That is rather crazy for that to happen, because it's the person that should be benefiting the most should be the artist who originally created it itself. But now people are making parodies and doing weird versions, and it's far removed from the original, but the person that should be benefiting is not going to get the benefit of it at all altogether. So that's just that's rather strange. And I mean, dude, the likeness part, I mean, I'm sure that has crossed major record labels' minds that it's just somebody else doing it to them. But I'm sure that shit has crossed their minds that they're going to be it's probably going to be some bullshit in the contract if you are signed to a major record label that your likeness is owned for all time. For all time, your image, your voice is going to be turned into an AI voice.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to create new music well after the fact that you're dead. It just happens to be that TikTok is enabling that right now.
To the common
they
man.
don't get to control it. And that's what they're butthurt, in my opinion, what they're butthurt about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the common man is able to do that now. Where you're right, I do think that's accurate. That's why they want to stop this now, because they're going to be the ones. It's like that. If anybody, it's like that Chappelle Show line when he's like, "If anybody's going to have sex with my sister, it's going to be me."
Yeah,
like, that's what it is. If anybody's going to screw our artist, it's going to be me. And they're going to be the ones to capitalize. I mean, with that Beatles song or whatever, that was all AI basically. I don't know who made that, but I mean, shit. I'm sure the record labels are just whoop dog it. Or there was a DMX and somebody made a DMX and what's his name? Tupac song. And man, it was good. And it wasn't the record label at all. It was some fucking just random guy that made it. And it was good. And I think that's really got their wheels turning as to we can introduce not only a new generation to this music that doesn't really download it, or maybe it's just the old heads of people that have been listening to Tupac or DMX that are going to be continuing to listen to his music. But now they're saying, hey, we can capitalize on this we can make new albums featuring DMX, and we can make it, put it out. We'll get all these new people to listen, and all the old idiots might listen too. Oh man, we're going to make some. And guess what? You probably don't even really have to pay their estate if there isn't one, because if the artist wasn't smart enough to have set up essentially an estate that could collect the what do you call it? The royalties. Then who defaults to? The label. It defaults to them as collecting all the royalties and keeping all the money and stuff for themselves. So that's another dangerous thing about AI. And like you said, it's them saying, "Oh, we're mad about this because we should be the ones doing this and taking advantage."
We haven't capitalized on it exactly. So I'm sure that's a problem that's going to occur in the future for future artists that eventually sign to any major record label, whether that's Universal or Sony or can't think of the other one, but Warner, Universal, Warner, and Sony. That is going to be an occurrence in the future. That maybe you're making a contract with the devil in the future about your likeness and how it'll be
utilized
by AI eventually. That your whole entity, your essence. I mean, it'd probably be your voice, but maybe even your image likeness can be used in advertisements or
yeah.
What the heck is that?
Oh, it's the cat. She's been having weird dreams lately. Like all day today when she's been asleep, she's been like meowing in her sleep and like twitching, and it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
So yeah, I think ultimately, yes, Universal is taking a stance that is right. but it's
Yeah.
only convenient for them. They can only take the stance because they have the means to do so. They have the money to fight TikTok on this. And everybody else just kind of is riding the coattails of this thing. I mean, not that anybody's going to directly benefit off of it, but it somewhat indirectly affects them because how this ultimately plays out is going to dictate what the repercussions, what the effects of this will be on the music industry as a whole.
Yeah.
But it just directly influences Universal Music and their artists and songwriters. So I don't know what the solution, if since you brought that question up, what do I think the solution is?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Man, I don't know what the solution is either, or if there is a fucking solution to this at all. But you know what's crazy? Do you know who owns Taylor Swift's fucking music catalog?
Well, no, I don't.
It's this company called Shamrock Holdings, and they're apparently the private equity firm that was founded by Roy E. Disney as the Disney family's investment firm or vehicle. And so it's based out of California here, and they bought it.
What?
It's called Shamrock Holdings. They purchased the rights to Taylor Swift's music because Taylor Swift's music was originally purchased by what's his name?
Scooter Braun?
Yeah, Scooter Braun or whatever, or Scott Borchetta. Yeah, they purchased ownership of the masters of her first 6 studio albums.
Yeah, that's why she's
She's going to re-record them, but then essentially, and that's what's crazy is, would you have to change certain things about them?
like the melody can't represent, I think, whatever.
So it's got to be like new.
It's got to be different enough to, because then I think whoever is holding the rights of the music could say, well, this sounds like what
That song,
we already
yeah.
own.
Right.
You need to pay us our fair share of royalties. I think that'd be mechanical royalties. Mechanical royalties are like the composition of the song itself. If it's and that's why, that's the crazy part, man. Is,
Yeah.
Because then you get music itself. If you're gonna sample anything, is like a fucking minefield of just paying out money out of your ass to use like a 5-second or 15-second portion of a song. You have to pay money in advance, and then you have to say, well, in addition to paying money, we'll give you the mechanical royalties because you're owed it for being the original song.
creator or whatever. Yeah.
So that's why I think when you make a song that's a cover, I mean, half the money, because you get performance royalties, which is the performance
Of the song.
the song itself.
Yeah.
You made that. That's you.
Right. Yeah.
That's all you. But the part that they get you on is the mechanical, which is you didn't create that song. So if I did a cover of a Smashing Pumpkins song, if I did Zero, I did a cover of it, the performance royalties would go to me, and then the mechanical royalties would go to Smashing Pumpkins or Billy
Right,
Corgan.
yeah.
So it just turns into a minefield, because then in the future, if you wanted to work with somebody, like if you wanted to sample, if you were doing a rap album and you wanted to pay who the fuck knows, James Brown's estate. All right, 30 grand, and you got to discuss the terms of the deal for that.
Mhm.
So that's just that's already putting you in the hole for making the music itself, just because
Yeah.
you want to use this 5-second sample or something.
Jesus Christ. You know, this whole Taylor Swift royalties thing just goes even deeper, and with the fucking, okay, conspiracy theory time. So Scooter Braun, when he fucking bought those the rights or whatever for
The
Taylor,
masters?
yeah,
The
the
masters,
masters, right?
yeah.
When he bought those, it was essentially done with money and supported by the Carlyle Group, which the Carlyle Group is a very prominent investment corporation that generally backs a lot of political candidates. The conspiracy theories is that they were very connected, or they've been connected with the Saudi Arabian family. They've been connected with the Bin Laden family in terms of having what's what I'm looking for, things to do with them. And so it's a very also politically active. They're like what's the one that is the Democrat one that's the big the guy who George Soros, right? His investment firms, they fund a lot of the left candidates. The Carlyle Group funds a lot of the right candidates. And so essentially, when Scooter Braun sold the thing to the Disney, whatever it was, Shamrock Holdings, he kept a clause in there that still allowed for there's no details of it, but the clause is essentially that it's still allowed that he will make money. He'll make profit on everything going forward. And I'm sure there's also something in there in terms of, okay, this Carlyle Group also making money because they're the ones that fronted the money for him to buy the fucking shit. So I'm sure. And if you look at all this shit with Taylor Swift being in the spotlight, there's an election coming up. If the people who control her masters essentially are, if an investment firm that has to do with funding political candidates is involved, hey, Taylor Swift, you want your fucking masters back and not have to re-record everything? Oh, yeah, we'll do it, but you're going to need to go on TV. You're going to need to be boyfriends with Travis Kelce, and you're going to need to want to say how you should vote for a certain candidate or some bullshit, right? Like that leads to the conspiracy theory aspect where it's like, again, interesting timing why Universal Music Group is putting this at that time when Taylor Swift is at the height of, what do you call it? Not popularity, but spotlight, I guess maybe is the right word. She's highlighted more so than normal because of this Super Bowl nonsense. So again, it just adds to the conspiracy theory factor of it, I think. Adam shaking his head doesn't care.
Don't care about the conspiracy aspect.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, so yeah, like you were saying though, I don't think there is a solution for this. I think it's just going to end. It's probably not going to hurt TikTok at all. And it's probably going to end up not even really hurting Universal Music Group at the end of it either. So
it just would have been better if they
came to a deal so people could use the shit on TikTok, I guess.
They just, both of them could stand to gain more money if they just put their differences aside.
Really. And that's kind of what's interesting about the whole thing is, to me, would I rather make no money or would I rather make some money? Maybe, again, a little bit of money is better than none. And sure, you don't have to get a huge fucking bump, but shit, whatever money you were getting off of this has to have been decent. And whatever additional user interaction that TikTok was getting, I'm sure was helping them pump up their money that they were getting from other advertisers and stuff, or investors or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, now you're both just hurting each other. You're hurting yourselves by not doing this. So I'm sure nobody's going to give a shit. They're just going to fucking go their separate ways and just be done with it. Or maybe they will come to a deal in a couple of months and say, all right, you know what? We're both being stupid. Let's just make a deal that's not super amazing for either of us, but it's better than no money altogether, So that's probably what will end up happening, I think. But anyways, all right. What else you got? You got any other?
I don't know if this is going to turn into a whole conversation, but I'll give it its due at least. So the Grammys happened today, and I was supposed to be withheld from mentioning this at all to not jinx the moment. But Lana Mac, somebody that we interviewed as our first interview for the Without Censored podcast,
true story,
went to the Grammys because there was an artist for the management of Cosmica, Gabby Moreno, who has I'm guessing that it didn't hurt that she had some highlights throughout the year, and I think most of them in 2023. One being she sang at Dodger Stadium for Guatemala night. Second, making an appearance at the White House.
Yeah.
Third, appearing on Jimmy Fallon in doing a duet with Oscar Isaac, old Poe Dameron.
Old Poe Dameron over there. And Moon Knight, yeah.
So I know that doesn't technically have anything to do with the music itself, because if it's anything to be graded on, or if there's a reason you should be winning a Grammy, it's because of the music itself.
Yeah.
But I don't think it hurt to have those 3 or 4 things, because that's a great campaign PR wise to have all that shit lined up leading up to the Grammys. And it doesn't like I said, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the music itself. I mean, I guess technically it does, because she did perform once on television with Jimmy Fallon, but everything else, it's like, I don't know how the Grammys work, but in the voting process, don't they do this like months in advance, the voting, right? I don't know.
I think they do. I think that's now they just keep the winner to themselves, obviously, and they don't say anything. But because I think they send out the ballots or whatever to the people involved, and they send it out, which also it was funny because I was actually debating figuring out a way that we could get in as a Grammy voting thing, because you just have to be somehow involved in music. Like, it doesn't matter really what you do, but you just have to have someone that is in quote unquote the industry nominate you. So I was trying to figure out a backdoor way that we could somehow get nominated.
Yeah.
And then we could actually vote on we could vote as an organization at the Grammys, which would just be kind of cool to fucking do. But
yeah, I think the voting ultimately, I mean, as many people theorize that it's a closed door thing.
Yeah.
And it's basically just record labels fighting over
which one of their artists is going to be the tops.
Yeah, who threw the most money at marketing to win, for an artist to win album of the year. And as we saw, Taylor Swift is the artist that won album of the year. So
yeah,
conveniently, I mean,
okay,
it belongs to one of the larger
true, yeah,
record labels. So but nonetheless, this is the conversation about Lana Mac and Gabby Moreno. So she went to the event, and as I came to find out on the number of articles that have been published with the winners list, Gabby Moreno won Latin pop album, which is cool because I mean, good for them. It's a small record label / management group that got their due. That probably, I mean, from what she was saying, they weren't expecting to win it at all. So interesting. And then Lana Mac, I think, also was supposed to be taking pictures, I think, at the event itself. So reinforcing my belief that we are curating great people for our podcast and our anything music related, that
absolutely
we doubled down on somebody before all these things are happening. So just cool to see and hear about somebody that we know going to the Grammys, and we're just giving the moment its due, its flowers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have anything more to add than that.
I mean, yeah, I just want to, not that fucking my opinion means anything, but I mean, I just would like to congratulate her. I think that's a hell of an accomplishment to be essentially one of the driving forces behind that artist.
Yeah,
and to be involved to the level that I know Lana is involved in. Mm-hmm. And yes, Gabby Moreno did the work in terms of making the song and doing all that and having the excellent performance and making the excellent music that got the win. But I just think to me it's a team effort all the way around.
All the way around, yeah. And it's a contribution. I mean, she made the ad within Billboard magazine.
Yeah,
for the Grammy nominee, because they take ads and
right. Yeah,
this artist is in consideration for a Grammy, and then they take out.
Yeah,
she made that, so she had her hand in it, and there are more things to come out of her that I also have heard, but I'm not going to mention because I'd rather see these things actually come to fruition and not me just dilly dallying and gossiping. Like, I'd rather let the things unfold as they should, and then once we cross that threshold,
then we can talk about it. Yeah. So that's awesome, and that's fucking amazing. And it's for those of the people that were wondering about the Grammy voting, it starts on December 14th and ends January 4th. So it is in advance. So they wouldn't know that they were going to win or whatever, but it is interesting to see that her doing all those things I don't know if they really, because I don't know when they happened or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily correlate maybe to voting, but it creates a great fucking storyline. This young artist that's, up and coming or whatever you want to call it. And with this record label, that's kind of, I don't know what tier they're in, but they're not a huge one. They're small,
more on the boutique side. And I don't think Gabby Moreno is on the young side, but
no, she's not. Oh, well, whatever. I don't know. I don't know shit about, but whatever. Either way, you've got an artist, you've got this storyline. She goes on all these shows, and now you've got that PR campaign. That was the point of this, was the PR campaign, and then creating this storyline, and then holy shit, you actually win the thing. What a great payoff.
Oh my God. It's almost like the WWE should take a fucking lesson from fucking
seriously.
Cosmica management and artist management and record label, that in order to get a payoff that matters, there has to be storytelling.
Yeah. It's got to be a story.
It's unheard of.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that in order to make a story that makes sense with the payoff, you have to tell it, and you have to have events and things.
Yeah. Otherwise the story doesn't exist. It doesn't mean anything.
Finish the story.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, you can listen to the Game Rage Wrestling podcast to hear all our thoughts about that.
Oh my God.
That nonsense. If you're into wrestling.
I feel like we should do.
I think we should, baby.
We got to do a wrestling podcast after this.
I agree.
I'm reeling from this shit. The Cody Rhodes.
Oh, yeah. So am I. I'm so pissed.
I think we need to just get it all out.
I was going to say that. And then, anyway, all right, we'll talk about it after because this is a music podcast. But anyways,
all right.
So
next,
what else we got? What other topics you got on the list here?
So I wrote down this topic called just you know when you write things when you're half asleep and sometimes it doesn't make sense. I wrote this down. I'm thinking, what the fuck does this mean? I'm like, oh yeah. So
now I remember.
So before I came here, I was trying to piece together why I wrote this fucking down. So music movements happen at the bottom. I wrote that trying to piece together, and it came back. So essentially, what it boils down to is last night before I went to sleep, I decided. Well, I watched the original Godzilla, and then I watched Paris is Burning, this documentary about drag queens and balls. Not balls like testicles.
But like, like ballrooms and,
ballrooms
dancing and things. Yeah. With music.
So it's also about trans individuals and stuff. And I'm like, I've kind of been meaning to see this. I need to understand the perspective of the LGBT community so that I'm not just being stupid about what I say or anything like that. And I wasn't even necessarily looking for this, and I kind of understood it in some weird way, because house music is influenced by minorities and the LGBT community, right?
Yeah.
But what I came to find out is that the dance known as voguing came from the gay community.
Interesting.
And
so
it just made me think of Madonna.
Well, because she did that song Vogue, right? She has a whole song about it.
She basically capitalized on something that was happening in the underground scene with drag queens and the gay community. And I'm thinking, shit, man, anything that happens in terms of meaningfulness or anything that happens in music that matters starts at the bottom. And then there's people that just kind of cultivate pop culture or things that are happening that are hot, and just now it's mine. So and I'm not trying to put down Madonna or anything, but look, dude, she took something that was in the gay community within the drag balls, and said, I'm gonna make a song around it. And maybe it wasn't even necessarily her, maybe it was her and a bunch of writers that thought, hey, this is what's happening on the street in the streets of New York.
Yeah.
We need to capitalize on this, and we need to be the front runners on it. Like, even though it was already happening. So
yeah,
I think there's other instances of that. And I think, to me, I maybe this is tangentially related, but I've been thinking about this artist named Olivia Rodrigo.
Okay.
Who made this whole like punk pop rock album. And, she got called out because I think there was something about one of the songs that felt too close to something that Paramore did, right? And then eventually, I think they sorted it out. Now she's going to pay some type of money
royalty
to her,
or whatever,
like royalties or whatever the fuck, as a result of that discovery or whatever. But there's people, in my opinion, there's people that are just cool, and then there's people that have a facade. And
okay.
And Olivia Rodrigo, portrayed herself within this thing she did for her album that got nominated for a Grammy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't believe any of it. And not that I have to believe in any of it. But when I think of artists like Young Gatita or Sedona that just make music, that they're the creators and writers of their own music, and they just radiate cool.
Yeah.
And this person at the top is just kind of putting on the guise of being cool.
Oh, they're co-opting cool.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, fuck, man. Everything that happens that's interesting in music is not at the fucking top. It's not the Grammys. That's a jerk off show for record labels to say who had the better artist, who could spend the most money for their artist to be album of the year, song of the year, artist of the year, and all that bullshit. Anything that happens that's meaningful in music is at the fucking bottom, like the ground level, the grassroots shit. And that's why I think I don't care about top 40, because I've said it 1,000 times already at this point, but I mean, me talking about on episode 1, the punk scene in Australia, I was saying that Melbourne and the Golden Coast, which I think is it's either a county or maybe it's what is equivalent of a state in Australia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I can't remember which one it is specifically. I feel bad about.
Yeah.
But okay, but it's around Sydney, roughly around Sydney, right? It's Golden Coast, Sydney, that area. There's things happening in punk. Nobody's talking about it. I mean, there's a few people that are doing it in small blogs and shit.
Yeah.
And it's happening. And I think it's going to bleed eventually to the mainstream in some regard. I mean, there's a few artists that have been featured on radio stations and shit, but that to me is interesting. I mean, Green Day is still parading around and doing fuck. Who the fuck knows with what at this point? Because I mean, they've retreaded the same themes and it's just overdone and it's
nonsense.
It's nonsense, but they capitalized. They capitalized the punk rock movement in the 90s, and they have, carried themselves well into the 2020s at this point.
Christ, it's been 30 years almost, basically, that they've been around.
But they're not they're not what's interesting about punk rock itself.
True.
They're just the zenith, or they're the zeitgeist
Peak.
of the the zeitgeist of the punk rock movement, but they're so stale and boring that theoretically, nobody should give a shit.
True.
But there are people that are drones that want to buy into it, which is cool. Go ahead.
Because it's top 40 punk music. Yeah. That's what it is. It's what is it? Catering to the lowest common denominator. And it's accessible. It's popular. It's, So
I don't know. Would you got anything to say about that? I mean, I know I kind of deviated from the original thing about being Vogue. And Vogue is not what I see in terms of like what Madonna did.
Yeah.
That was for money. That was for profit.
Right.
Vogue it's got a little bit more of a meaning. According to the LGBT community or the gay community, there's this thing called shade.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So when they do it, it's like fighting. It's
dance fighting almost.
It's dance fighting more or less, and it's without throwing hands. And you're supposed to do all these poses like supermodels and stuff, and ultimately people decide which one is the best. And there's even like a thing they do where they have their palms open, like they're checking their face in the mirror, like a pocket mirror.
Oh yeah.
And then you're supposed to push it on to the next person, like your opponent, saying that they're fucking ugly, and then it's like a way of being condescending without actually fight. So there's more meaning to the original Vogue than what is portrayed on Madonna's song or the visuals. So I don't know. What do you think about?
Okay, so I was just curious about what voguing. I just looked it up, and man, that started in the 60s. Okay, the 1960s. So even further back, it started in the 60s, and then it became essentially, it was from Harlem ballroom culture. It was danced by African American and participating Latino gay men. That was where it got through this, from the 60s through the 80s, and essentially it was demonstrating that aspects of identity can be fluid, like race, gender, sexuality, all that stuff. And it's essentially, from what I'm reading, it's dance fighting. It's dance fighting against your opponent, and then the audience chooses, or the judges choose, who is the victor and who did it better. And it's crazy that literal white bread Madonna took this thing that was popular amongst essentially a very small minority culture, not just being Latino and African American, but the gay versions of them, even being a smaller portion of the minority, and saying, oh man, that's interesting. Oh man, I should do something about this. I could do something with this. And then just, I mean, in the video, it's not even, or not in the video, but in the song and in the video, I guess her like the dance movements are not even that aggressive. They're very, I don't want to
bastardized version.
Yes, that's what it is. It's a bastardized version of the actual dance and the movements itself, which to me would have been even more interesting if she would have had like dance battles and all kinds of crazy shit. That would have been even better.
Yeah.
If it would have been hardcore like it was, but then it had to become accessible to people that were, it had to be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Non-provocative.
Tamed. Yes, it had to be tamed. It had to be watered down for the masses to fucking accept it and to be.
Imagine how much imagine the betrayal from the gay community to see that on television. That's our shit.
Yeah.
I imagine that there must have been some kind of backlash afterwards.
Now, I think Madonna has been very
she's
pro and friendly to the gays, right?
But she still made money off of
I mean, that's true. Well, I mean, let's be real, though. Let's look at how many people did she hire, or who did she get? Because someone had to teach her how to do this shit, right?
Yeah.
Someone had to be a consultant.
Okay, so there is a dude. He's in the documentary, Paris is Burning. His name is something Ninja. Let me see.
Something Ninja.
Ninja. Paris is Burning. Ninja.
Dude, the fucking names on this thing. Pepper Labelia. Venus Extravaganza. Octavia St. Laurent.
Yeah.
Carmen Extravaganza. Willie Ninja. What a great fucking name, man.
Yeah, and then basically whatever house you get adopted into, because a lot of the people in the gay community are like displaced from their original family.
Yeah.
So once you get taken in by a family, you take on I mean, you actually have to be, there's like a rite of passage, right? You can't just join a family.
Right,
you have to prove your worth. But at the very end of it, your last name becomes the household name. So if it's like, what were you saying? Extravaganza,
yeah.
Yeah. So then you take on whatever your first name is as a drag queen is also your last name is the house you belong to. So if it's Extravaganza, you belong to the house of Extravaganza.
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy.
So
That's
the guy's name is Willie.
It's like gangs too, man. It's like dude. Okay, not to get off topic here, but what if you made a Gangs of New York style movie, but about the ballroom gay dancers of Harlem?
Great.
Wouldn't that be a sweet ass movie?
Wait, but I think that maybe kind of already exists with Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar with Wesley Snipes and Patrick Swayze as drag queens, but I've never actually seen the movie.
I've never even heard of that. What's it called?
Tu Wong Fu.
Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. Let's see.
I don't remember what
it's an American road comedy.
Trying to get to some ball, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's John Leguizamo is the other one.
Yeah.
They go to New York City drag queens who embark on a road trip.
So it's more of a road trip. It's not about
I think it's not about necessarily. They're trying to win in New York City's Drag Queen of the Year contest.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's actually about the dancing.
Yeah, give me Gangs of New York with gay.
And dude, have a guy that's like the butcher character, and he's just brutal and just fucks people up on the thing. Yeah. Dude, man, all right, I got to talk to Ed about this. This is a great idea.
Yeah, this is fucking great.
Anyways, all right, so
mental note. I mean, it's going to exist on the podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, make a mental note of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know, man. It had me thinking about some other stuff, and because a lot of people say that. I mean, for Elvis, like probably culturally appropriated,
definitely
blues music, and I mean the Rolling Stones. I mean, there's probably been thousands of black artists that they copied, and I mean most of those guys weren't half as popular as like the Rolling Stones or whatever, but it just makes me think just because you're first and you do something does not mean you're going to be the one that capitalizes ultimately on the thing itself,
or that you're going to be the one that ever gets your due for it either.
Yeah, that is kind of devastating.
You can probably just, again, to tangentially related, but you can probably say about like the blues thing. I mean, blues is probably the father music essentially of what metal is or whatever, because it was very, I mean, metal is very, it's yes, it's hard, it's heavy, but the lyrics are very dark and very, you know, whatever. Blues music was the same thing. They were about very dark topics, about very, you know, difficult things to deal with. So what? Oh, was Rexy being an idiot?
No, I mean, he was like right behind you.
Oh, what are you, fucking dog.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. That's what the fuck was I saying about the blues music? Yeah, but just because, yeah, I know some bands like Metallica will say, oh yeah, certain blues artists did influence them, but I mean, that guy's not getting any money off
Or
of them.
even rap itself.
True,
right?
yeah.
That they sample things that are kind of obscure, like old African American artists that they'll sample from. Maybe they do that intentionally too, to pay the least amount of money as possible for a sample.
Yeah.
And then they incorporate it to their music, but the popularity of the song itself is attributed to the person making it, right? Like the rap artist or whoever their producer is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like Dr. Dre, right? Everybody thinks of that person, but the person behind that sample is an afterthought.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe never even gets credited for it really in the long run. And you kind of would hope that maybe, and country music does the same shit too. They sample shit like that, like old blues songs or old, you know, African American style music, and they'll sample that shit and then turn it into a country song or whatever.
Yeah.
And or slightly change it just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know. But yeah, that's the thing that sucks about the whole thing, is that no one will ever have their cake and eat it too. You know, it's like someone else is going to take the shit that you maybe popularized and made it look cool. They're going to take a bastardized version of it and put it into the mainstream. And it sucks because the people, like those people that were in the 60s, 70s, 80s that were doing these dance battles, that is the true, in my opinion, it is the true essence of art.
Art itself,
because they were doing it for no one but themselves. It was just them, their self-expression. No one fucking of import saw it. It didn't matter that no one of importance saw it. It only mattered that they were there and they were going to just compete and do better against whoever they were going up against. And that was the end of it. The true essence of the art form. And then, as you said, you get a bastardized version of it through Madonna putting it into the mainstream.
Yeah.
And those guys will never get their fucking credit. It is interesting though that movie came out the same year that that Madonna Vogue movie the Vogue came out in 1990. That Paris is Burning movie also came out in that same year, 1990, and it won some award at the, what was it?
Well, imagine that song was made in advance as well. I mean, it was released in 1990, but it was probably
But it's funny that they were both released because that movie was also probably made a year or two before. But it's funny that they were both released in 1990. So it's interesting. And it won the grand jury prize at the 1991 Sundance Film Festival.
I'm not a hater, but I actually do like that song Vogue because it's fucking catchy.
It is catchy as shit. Man, Madonna, bro, you can look at my music. I got Madonna on my fucking thing, a bunch of songs.
Yeah.
That fucking she figured it out. I don't know if she wrote all the music or if there were other people involved, which I'm sure there were, but those individuals involved with Madonna, they cracked the fucking matrix code and figured out how to get everybody to like shit. Because I don't think Madonna had a failure of a release ever. It was all just music that was super poppy, super catchy. Everybody fucking loved it, and they cracked the code. Good for them.
Yeah, and then she released that fucking song. I think it must have been in the 2000s. That was a sample of ABBA. Every something. I'm caught up. It's a gay anthem because it's disco and it's Madonna. So, I mean,
yeah, that's what happens.
Well, anyways, so the one thing I wanted to quickly mention was that guy Willie Ninja that's in the Paris is Burning documentary. It's so cool because he mentions that. So he was one of the I don't know if he was like the architect of the Vogue itself, but he was one of the people that refined it and made it great and everything.
Yeah,
he was a choreographer, or he wanted to be a choreographer. By the end of the documentary, like a year in the future of when this thing was filmed and put together, I think it was like a retrospective of within the documentary. He was looking back retrospectively, but he actually became a choreographer for like other artists, like
Oh, that's
pop
cool.
culture itself. Like he manifested that shit. Like he said he was gonna do it, and he fucking did it. Yeah, and
That's
I'm like,
fucking sweet, man.
yeah, and that. But the thing fucking ended on a real tragic note.
Oh,
That like
man.
somebody, one of the 5 people that they were concentrating on was strangled to death. I'm like, oh, that wasn't a very optimistic. They should have ended with the guy becoming a choreographer, because that was kind of one of the more compelling stories within the documentary itself.
Yeah.
But they fucking ended on the one of the 5 people within the documentary itself getting strangled, which was kind of sad.
That is pretty sad. Who's the one that got strangled?
So this, I forgot I can't remember their name, but this person just straight out looked feminine. I mean, they dressed in drag, right? But they were
Yeah.
super feminine. They were kind of describing their experiences about being approached by men and eventually being taken home by men. And one of them saw that this person had a dick or
Yeah.
penis and started calling him the F word.
Yeah.
Not our F word, but the one that's offensive to gay people.
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean not our F word? Like fuck? Is that what you're saying? You're
you
saying not fuck?
fucker, like,
oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
But the other one, the one that's
The other
offensive
one,
to gay.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
So then,
I thought there was another F word that was referred specifically to us. I was like, wait, what are you talking about?
yeah, no. So she was ending up in precarious situations where straight men were finding out that she was actually male.
Yeah.
And then who the fuck knows if she ran into the wrong person that was interested in her and turned out to be, somebody that is identifies as female, but is actually male biologically. And
Right,
they just, fuck you, you're dead. And that was the end of it. So they don't say what the reason was or if there was a motive for the person that killed this person in the documentary. But yeah, they just straight got murdered.
That is fucking crazy, man. And you know what sucks too? I was looking up Willie Ninja because I thought, man, that'd be a cool guy to try to talk to. He died at 45 years old, man.
Did he die of AIDS?
Yes, he died of AIDS.
Oh, shit.
AIDS-related heart failure. So
AIDS?
It says AIDS-related heart failure.
Oh, AIDS-related
AIDS.
heart failure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Man, that
seems
sucks, dude.
telling of the times.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, for sure. But man, that sucks, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, he danced in 2 of Janet Jackson's fucking videos. I mean, shit. He did a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, shit. That dude probably influenced many of the dance moves. I mean, Janet Jackson. I mean, there's somebody there. Okay, so here's another topic about the Grammys. Jay-Z was pissed that for as many entitled motherfucker, dude.
Yeah.
Jay-Z made it known on the Grammy stage that his wife has never won the album of the year, even though his wife I think is by far the most winningest Grammy award winner. Like she has
Yeah.
the total
number.
Yeah, the highest amount of Grammy wins, right? But he had to make it known that she's never won the album of the year. I'm like, who fucking cares?
That is
She's
true.
won a number of Grammys, and this is the one that you're gonna hit
your hat on.
Oh, yeah, like
that you need to get.
You're gonna be hung up on, or this is the hill you're gonna die on. I mean, you already are billionaires. Why do you care about one fucking title? That just proves that once you get to the top, or if you are, greed never stops, dude. It's ultimately,
No, it's true. It
It's
doesn't.
ultimately what it comes down to is greed never stops.
Yeah, Beyonce's won 32 fucking Grammys, the most of all fucking time.
Yeah.
The next, Stevie Wonder only won 25 Grammys. John Williams also has won 25 Grammys, which makes a lot of sense because,
hey man, Star Wars soundtracks and Indiana Jones, the GOAT.
Oh, you know who's won 24 just behind John Williams?
Taylor Swift.
Fucking Jay-Z.
Oh.
Kanye also at 24.
Yeah.
U2 as a band has won 22, so that's pretty notable. I don't even see Taylor Swift on this. Bruce Springsteen 20, Aretha Franklin won 18. Yeah, let's see where Taylor Swift falls on this fucking list because I don't even.
She's probably got to be in the teens, right?
I would imagine. Shit, they don't even go that deep. Let's see. Taylor Swift
Grammy wins. Only she could hang her hat on that. She won album of the year. Beyonce's never had that.
Yeah, I mean, she won album of the year 3 times.
Sass, shade,
So-
all tea, no shade.
Well, and then remember the whole Kanye thing when he came out and said, "Listen, I'm sorry to say this, you did great and all, but Beyonce had the best album of all time. That should have been." You think Jay-Z put him up to that? You think that's how that got started?
As a fall guy,
Yeah, he was like, "Listen, man, I can't be seen doing this, so I need you to do me a
it
solid
worked
right
out
now."
for everybody. Everybody paid attention to Kanye more, and everybody paid attention to Taylor Swift more. Worked
True.
out for everybody.
Taylor Swift's only won 12 Grammys, so yeah.
Interesting. I mean,
Been nominated for 52.
I don't feel sorry for her.
No, neither do
She
I.
made
She's
$1 billion.
a fucking
I don't
billionaire.
give
Yeah, who gives a
I don't give
fuck?
Woe is
That's
me,
crazy.
dude. Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Yeah, seriously. Let's see. For the most nominations, just because I'm curious, it's Jay-Z at 83 and Beyonce. Or no, now he's got 88. Jesus Christ,
He's not-
man. 88 nominations.
I don't even
and he's
think
only won-
Beyonce's done. I mean, she just
Oh,
came
no.
out with an album. And who knows when she's going to be done? But by the time it's all said and done, I mean, she's already eclipsed Michael Jackson
Oh,
and everything probably
Everybody.
at this point. Yeah.
she's eclipsed everyone. And honestly, I don't know that 32 is able to be caught up to.
I don't think so.
I think that's like a who is it?
Let's go in baseball. Let's go with baseball terms. What do you think? Hank Aaron, well, I mean, without the roids, who's the home run king? That's a Barry
Right.
Bonds number.
Yeah, that's a number that's never going to be caught. It's exceeded the limits of normal human fucking possibility, and it's just never going to happen again. So yeah, it's crazy though. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I don't think I have anything more to add this episode. I think we got a lot of good topics.
we did get a lot of good shit on this one, so
Yeah.
I'm happy with this.
give us a follow and do all that business. Follow me on All Gas No Trash official, no underscores. On Instagram, not on anything else. I'm the one-stop shop on Instagram, so you don't have to go anywhere else.
You don't have to go anywhere else for all your musical needs. And then if you want other things, if you don't want just music and you want other stuff, the one-stop shop for all the other things is at GameRageMagazine.com and at Game Rage Magazine on all the social medias. And you can follow us there and, see all of our other cool shit. So anyways, thank you for joining us. Without further ado, we will go ahead and say goodbye. And thank you guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
That was the Game Rage Music Show. Thanks for listening.